Good morning. Today, friends, we are going to pause here. We're going to take a pause from the noise of politics and the rhythm of daily life, and we're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about grief. The Bailey family woke up this morning, Darren and Sydney. They are people of deep conviction. Darren Bailey is running for governor, and he ran for governor in 2022. And they are people of deep conviction, community, unwavering faith, and they are walking through something right now that no parent should ever have to know. But they are walking through just grief because on Wednesday evening, Darren and Sydney received probably a heartbreaking call about their son Zachary, his wife Kelsey, and their two children. So the grandchildren, 12-year-old Veda Rose and 7-year-old Samuel, they were killed tragically in a helicopter accident in Montana. So their grandson, 10-year-old, they had, I believe, 3 children, Kelsey and Zach. But their grandson, 10-year-old Finn, was not on the helicopter, and he is safe. A miracle, really, amidst this unimaginable pain. So this is about, the story is about love, it's about family, it's about faith in the face of tragedy. Darren Bailey had released a statement on his Facebook page. I won't read it in its entirety. You guys can go check it out there. But there are just no words to ease this kind of sorrow. I'm sure there's no slogan or campaign speech that could fill the hole that has been left behind when families' laughter, goes silent. But there is a hope, and I know Darren and Sydney, they have hope in Jesus because there is a Christ, and Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. And today our prayer for Darren and Sydney is that God will hold them in his arms, give them this peace that passes all understanding, and reminds them that death isn't the end. That's my hope for Darren and Sydney this morning, that God just wraps them up in his arms. Many of you listening might know Darren and Sydney from the campaign trail. You might know him as a political figure, but I know Darren as a man of faith. He's a husband, a father. That's one thing about Darren. I've said it before. I'm voting for Darren simply because I'm a Christian conservative in that order. And he's a husband, he's a father, he's a farmer, and above all else, he is a believer. And he's not afraid to speak the truth and stand up for what's right, which is why he's running for governor again. And he's the kind of guy who loves his family. And he loves his family more than politics. And, he loves God more than applause. It might have been controversial for him to enter in another gubernatorial race, but he didn't care because that's what God called him to do and told him to do. So he did it. And in this moment, I'm praying that Darren's faith is with him and will carry him through this tragedy. So Romans 8:38 through 39 says, nothing can separate us from the love of God, neither death nor life, nor angels or principalities, nor powers. And that's a promise today that Zachary, Kelsey, Veda, Samuel, they are home with their Savior. And that one day the Baileys will see them again. I'm sure of that. The whole family is just full of faith, and they definitely know Jesus. And if you're listening right now, pray for the Bailey family. I can't imagine what they're going through. To the Bailey family, Darren, Sydney, Finn, all of us here at the Conservative Cat Show, we are praying for you. We stand with you. We're grieving with you, and we hope that we hope that you turn to the Savior in this moment. Turn to Him in your mourning, and I hope that your mourning turns into joy, knowing that your family is with Jesus, and your ashes turn into beauty. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you peace, a peace that passes all understanding. Tragedies, folks. Shoot Darren a message on his statement. He threw it out on his Facebook page, his official Facebook page, and just show him some love. I woke up this morning, I couldn't believe it. Total tragedy. All right, we've got a few things that we have to hit in the 6 o'clock hour. I do want to get to Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, he made some remarks about Kamala Harris, and I'm going to try my very best. I threw the comments he made in the comment section, and I'm going to try to read them to you because it's a complete mess. He's very incoherent. It's probably a lack of brain cells from Coke. I don't know. But his comments prove one thing, that there is more Democrat chaos on the horizon. The party is not coming together. There's just chaos amidst the Democrat Party. And we're going to get to Hunter Biden's remarks about Kamala Harris, because above all else, it really just confirms that there's just Democrat chaos and the party is just a mess. And then I do need to get to this, another tragedy. 3 people lost their lives in a deadly freeway crash in California. And I think that, well, and I'm not being hyperbolic here or exaggerating in any kind of way. I am just going to say it. Gavin Newsom has blood on his hands and he has to answer questions. There's questions for Gavin Newsom after this illegal alien truck driver was arrested in this deadly freeway crash. And I'll get to that. We're going to be talking about JB today because, of course, it wouldn't be the conservative cat show if I didn't make fun of Jellybean Pritzker. Jellybean says that he wants to grow the economy. Oh, remember yesterday? If you missed the show, it's archived. He wants to grow the economy. But his actions speak louder than his words. He is actually plotting to tax you to death. He wants to tax the economy to death. He's actually talking about not abiding by federal provisions within the One Big Beautiful Bill that would actually result in tax cuts for manufacturers. He wants to kind of skirt the One Big Beautiful Bill, and he wants to not issue those tax breaks, and he wants to squeeze you more. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Pritzker's equality bill. Okay, so this bill, what it does, it erases quite literally the words mom and dad. So Illinois is redefining the family. They're redefining words like mom and dad. I have statistics about children who come from same-sex households. Statistically, they are not better off. Okay, and Illinois' bill here, redefining family, is defying God and God's design for family. And Illinois is trying to define what family is. And it's already been defined by God. So we're going to talk about this equality bill that quite literally erases the terms father and mother. So you got to love it. Hunter Biden, let's talk about him because he's popped up again. It's like whack-a-mole with that guy. You smack him down and he pops back up. He's saying things that are not very helpful to the Democrat Party. Okay, at this point, they need to unify. They need to figure out what their message actually is. I mean, it is chaos. Now, he hasn't been happy, and who could blame him? Because they really did treat his dad like crap, Joe, because they shoved him off to the side and didn't give him the respect that Hunter Biden believes he was owed. So a variety of Democrats have been at the subject or at the they have been at the center of his attacks. Okay, a variety of Democrats. Hunter Biden has attacked them in podcasts. Specifically, there was a podcast back in July. You guys might remember it. It was with YouTuber Andrew Callahan. Recently, Hunter sat down in an interview with a Substack writer. His name is Tommy Christopher. Okay, just very recently, he sat down with this guy. So he's been going on podcasts and kind of just like attacking Democrats. Okay, certain Democrats, um, because he believes that they shoved Joe aside, which they kind of did. Okay, they forced him kind of out of the campaign, installed Kamala Harris. So Hunter Biden is out there expressing like a deep disappointment with 2024 presidential nominee Kamala Harris, failed presidential nominee Kamala Harris, and he's disappointed with her. And he's also disappointed with her and her new book. And he says that her new book is personally painful. Now, like I said, I'm going to read some of these comments, and I have the transcript in the comment section, and I'm just going to be reading through some of what he said with the Substack writer in this interview. Tommy Christopher is the Substack writer, and a lot of his comments are not coherent. Hunter Biden, similar to that of his dad, he's just not coherent. I don't know if it's the drugs or what, but it was really hard to listen to. So I drew up the transcript because I was like, maybe if you guys see it out visually, you'll see how like incoherent it is. But the gist of it, he's feels personally attacked by Kamala Harris' book. Kamala Harris's new book. I think it's called 107 Days or something like that. He feels disappointed in Kamala Harris and says things like she's disloyal. So let's get into it. He goes, I didn't read it. He's talking about Kamala Harris's book. I really didn't. I'm just really disappointed. I've just heard of some things. I've tried to block it out. And I don't know. I have to admit, it's personally painful. The book, 107 Days. And then he goes on and he says, I just think that people, like particularly the vice president, let me see here. I might have right here. I just think that people, particularly the vice president, is that I guess my personally, sense of loyalty. I don't know what he's saying here. I think that he's talking about the vice president's loyalty. So Kamala Harris not being loyal to his dad. Is it for her to, in a book, try to distance herself and take what I would call really the easy path to distance herself? Okay, so she's distanced herself from Joe Biden in this book. And he's saying that was an easy path for her to take. He goes on. He says, to what I guess she thinks. I don't know what he's saying. He's so incoherent. It's hard. But I'm just reading the transcript from the podcast. I think that the biggest complaint about the vice president has and always been is, which I never believe, I really mean, is that she's not authentic. And I think to do something that is so inauthentic in the way that the criticism allowed her to kind of play both sides, right? So here I think he's calling her two-faced, okay? And he knows that Republicans call her inauthentic all of the time. And he says she's not doing herself any favors because she did something really inauthentic by writing this book about Joe Biden and playing both sides. So then he goes on and he says, like, oh, she had a feeling and she didn't say anything. Oh, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, that just makes me, again, it's like, because I love what she represented, and I love the fact that my dad made the decision. That here, let me tell you about loyalty. The reason he picked Kamala Harris is because the fact that he believes, and I certainly believe, the most powerful force in the Democratic Party is always and always will be the African American women. they're the heart and soul and the conscience of the Democrat Party. And that's why I thought it was so important to not have. And by the way, she had an incredible resume. So he kind of backtracks there. And he says that, she has an incredible resume, and it's not just the skin color and her being an African-American woman. But he says she had an incredible resume, perfectly capable of being the president of the United States. I would have gladly voted for her. So I think that he actually reveals here that he didn't vote for her. I'm not sure. Like I said, it's an incoherent mess. But he chose her out of loyalty. My dad chose her out of loyalty. And I don't understand. I guess I don't understand why someone would choose the expedient path as it relates to that relationship, their own political expediency. So that's a mess. It's a garbled mess, and I'm trying to decipher it. Maybe you guys can help me in the comment section. But man, I think I could reduce it to a few things. One, he just simply feels disappointed about the book and her writing the book, and that she did something inauthentic in writing this book, and that she's playing both sides, calling her two-faced. He seems to be criticizing her for saying that she had a feeling. So she had a feeling but didn't say anything, and I'm assuming that was about Joe Biden's condition. So Kamala Harris had a feeling about Joe Biden's condition, but she didn't say anything. And he's criticizing her for having that feeling and not saying anything. And, the most coherent part, I think, of him in this interview with the Substack writer was that he thinks that she's not loyal. Okay. And he explains that his dad picked her because she was an African American. Now, he quickly, chimed in after he noticed, I think, that he gave the Democrat Party away, that they pick people based on skin color and sexual or their gender. Okay. their sex. And he added quickly, he goes, oh, well, she also had an incredible resume and was perfectly capable of being president. But he also made it clear that she chose an expedient path to distance herself from Joe Biden. And to say something negative about Joe Biden now is like an easy way out for her, I guess, politically. But Megyn Kelly, she actually ran clips from the interview. And I will show you here the clip of the interview where she was on with Dan Torrentine and Sean Spicer. She highlighted what Hunter had said about Kamala Harris being picked because of her African-American race or whatever. So I'm going to play some of this from the Megyn Kelly show. But here we go. Okay, come on. Here we go.
I don't know who the guy was. I'm going to find out who the guy was. What?
Thank you.
Do we know?
I never heard of him. I
love when he does these.
I know. I love the guy doing the interview is like, he looks kind of disheveled. He's barely looking into the camera. It's kind of entertaining. And the answer that was posted on Mediaite today, which is where I saw it, rambled on for 4.5 minutes. It was very painful. Hunter Biden was very disjointed. It was like very slow, long pauses. It was like, spit it out. So we only are going to run the last minute or so where he got on point. Watch this. This is on Kamala Harris and her book, in which, Karine Jean-Pierre is out there defending the Biden White House. Kamala Harris is out there dumping on it. This is about the Kamala Harris book. Watch.
I love the fact that my dad made the decision that let me tell you about loyalty. The reason that he picked Kamala Harris is because of the fact that he believes in, and I certainly believe, the most powerful force within the Democratic Party is and always has been the African American women. They're the heart and soul and the conscience of the Democratic Party, and that's why he thought it was so important to have not. And by the way, and she had an incredible resume and is perfectly capable of being president of the United States, and I would have gladly voted for her.
Oh yeah, got to say that.
But he chose her out of loyalty, and I just don't understand. Because I don't understand why someone would choose the expedient path as it relates to that relationship. Their own political expediency.
Their own political expediency. Okay, so my team tells me that is Tommy Christopher, who writes for Mediaite and is a far left dude who's literally chewing gum during the interview, which seems kind of passive aggressive. But okay, yeah. So there he is, ripping on Kamala. But what it was interesting was he said it. He said it in sort of a back end way, but he said she was only put in the role because she's a black woman. And for her to now have the gall to turn around and attack us when this is really what he's saying. He had to add, she's qualified, of course, I would have voted for her. But what he's really saying is she was never qualified. She got there for no reason other than her identity. So she should STFU. That's how I read the Hunter Biden commentary. Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing good for the Democratic Party about this. That Hunter Biden keeps popping up with these kind of rolling commentaries is just is awful. I mean, look, he's right. That is why Joe Biden picked her. They wanted to try to increase turnout in down in the Atlanta area and in Philadelphia and Detroit and various places. But you can't make that statement and then turn around and say, how dare she? And you know, the fact that Kamala Harris did not separate herself from Biden during the campaign, but now is doing it. Joe Biden's book is going to be coming out soon. Jill Biden, I think, is going to have something coming out. They're going to go on the attack. Hunter Biden's going to then come and defend his parents more. Like, we have not heard the last of this. It's not helping us move forward. And then you have, as you say, Karine Jean-Pierre saying, what? I didn't see anything, which is just insane.
But something else she's been saying makes even more sense when you are reminded of Democrat Party politics and what they prioritize in picking their top people. We put this together since yesterday. This is just on her little book tour, Karine Jean-Pierre. This week alone, look at SOT 24A.
As a Black woman, as a person who's also LGBTQ.
As a Black woman, I am a Black woman, I am a queer woman, I am an immigrant. Being a Black woman, as a Black woman myself, that is the thing that I understood as a Black woman, is that I meant a lot to people because of the communities that I represented. And whether it was women of color, Black women, queer community, LGBTQ community, immigrant. And as a Black woman, and I have my queerness too.
It all makes sense. Not that we didn't know what she was doing before, but she recognizes this is the only reason she was chosen. It's opened doors for her.
Okay. So let's get back to Hunter Biden. Karine Jean-Pierre, you know, she didn't see anything. She's out there defending the White House. Kamala Harris is trashing it, as Dan Torrentine. He's a former Democrat operative. I think he is a co-host of the morning meeting. It's a podcast, and he was on with Megyn Kelly. He acknowledged that, yes, that's exactly why she was picked, because she's an African-American woman. And none of this is helpful to Democrats. That is also what Dan Torrentine had mentioned on the podcast with Megyn Kelly. And that's what I'm taking away from this. This is just Democrat Party in complete chaos. They're fighting with each other. Kamala Harris has a book. She's ripping on the Biden administration. She's saying that she thought something was wrong with Joe. And now Joe Biden is going to have a book out. I'm sure they're going to slam Kamala Harris in it. And then Jill has a book coming out. I'm sure they're going to slam Kamala Harris in it. Hunter's going to come out and defend his parents, punches. And we have not heard the last of this. And that's not going to help the Democrat Party forward. I don't really care. I say keep going. Karen Jean-Pierre said, oh, well, I didn't see anything in the White House, And Dan Torrentine there noted that there had been people who wanted Karen Jean-Pierre out of the White House because she couldn't do her job. She wasn't qualified, but they were afraid to move against her and defend various segments of the party. So you have like this fraction and this fragmentation really within the Democrat Party, where you have some people who are like, oh, yes, African-American women, no quality or qualifications, no merit, and let's just throw them in there in our top positions. I mean, we're talking White House press secretary and vice president. Let's just throw them in there in our top positions. But then you've got Kamala Harris turning around, despite her not having any qualifications and being put there in there, not being grateful for it, like Karen Jean-Pierre is. She knows she's not qualified. She's got to know. That's why she's constantly saying, as a black woman, as a queer black woman, she knows she's not qualified. But instead of doing what Karen Jean-Pierre does, Kamala Harris comes out and rather be grateful for a position that she's not qualified for. She turns around and smack talks the people who put her in that position simply because of her skin color and gender. So Halpern, who was also there, Mark Halpern, with Megyn Kelly, he said that she was unambiguously unqualified. Okay, so it's not up for interpretation. Like, bottom line, Karen Jean-Pierre was unqualified to be the White House press secretary. And they discussed what caused Karen Jean-Pierre to finally split from the Democrat Party, related to how she was treated at the White House. Okay, so they treated her poorly because she wasn't there's factions within the Democrat Party who treat these diversity hires poorly. And Dan Torrentine summed it up as that they've got to stop with the identity politics, because the identity politics is what's dividing the Democrat Party. If they want to be a party again, a political party, and win elections, they've got to stop with the identity politics, because it's fractioning and causing friction in the Democrat Party. I don't want to give advice to the Democrat Party because I'd love for this to continue and we just continue to win elections. But the inner workings of Joe Biden wasn't just struggling himself with dementia or with cancer, and I don't wish ill upon anybody. I hope that he recovers. I've heard that he's getting treatment. But he was struggling, personally, but it wasn't just him. It was the inner workings of the White House. While he was there, it was a complete mess. And the longer that they wallow in this confusion, they are going to, it's going to be good for Republicans because they are never going to get elected again. They're never going to win elections ever again because they are so confused because you're putting people in there for just race, gender, sexual orientation. You're putting people in there who can't govern, and you're throwing people in these candidacies that aren't qualified to be candidates. They aren't qualified to be leaders in the Democrat Party, and you're just kind of confusing everyone, and you're causing friction. So while they fight, I'm hoping that the Republicans can govern, get things done, win even more elections. So I guess, yes, Hunter and Kamala should keep fighting. That's good for us. I don't want to give any advice to the Democrat Party. But if I had to, I would say that you got to get rid of the identity politics. Once you get rid of that, the chaos, the confusion, it'll dissipate, I think, pretty quickly, because you're going to have people of merit in your top leadership positions rather than people who are black and gay, and like they might not necessarily be qualified to be in these positions. So yeah, I'm going to switch gears. We're going to talk about this illegal alien from India, a tragedy. Share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. This is the top story today, I would say. And he's got an answer for this, Governor Gavin Newsom. So Jasanpreet Singh is his name, and he's a 21-year-old illegal alien from India, and he's in custody right now at the San Bernardino, California County Sheriff Department. So he's in custody on suspicion of DUI, causing great bodily harm, and vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. Okay, so he is there, DUI, he killed people, allegedly. And he's in custody, in connection to this horrific accident that happened on the freeway on Tuesday, October 21st. So I'm going to play the video. Warning, it is very graphic, so it's intense to watch. But let me make sure that I've got this right. I think that this is the correct link. Yes. So this is really tough to watch. Warning, warning, warning. Not all viewers are going to be okay with watching this. The accident happened on a freeway near Ontario, California. 3 people died, and there were injuries to 4 others. 2 of those 4 injuries are severe. So as shown in this dash cam footage, you're going to see Singh's truck barreled into stop traffic on the freeway, and he made no effort to avoid the vehicles. He crashed right into them. And I mean, this is shocking. He did not slow down at all, and he's being held in connection to this accident, and they think that he was driving under the influence. Take a look.
Exclusive dash cam video, which is now the subject of several law enforcement investigations. It shows the moment a red semi-truck plowed into a number of vehicles on the westbound 10 freeway in Ontario just after 1 p.m. yesterday. The CHP told the LA Times the driver of this big rig is a 21-year-old man who is now under arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs. A total of 4 semis were involved, and also 4 passenger vehicles, one of them exploding in flames. 3 people were killed and 4 others were taken to local hospitals. This horrific crash happened just east of the 15 freeway and shut down all westbound lanes for more than 12 hours. Thousands of drivers were trapped in the gridlock just as the evening commute was getting underway. It's also near the exclusive dash cam video, which is now the subject of
truly tragic. Now, reportedly, this was an illegal immigrant. This guy who caused the crash, he was an illegal immigrant, and he was supposed to be released during the Biden administration. This is Bill Melugins from Fox News reporting of it. I'm going to share this with you. Okay, here we go. Per multiple ICE sources, Jasanpreet Singh, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, I really don't care, the semi-truck driver, suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash on the 10 freeway in Ontario, California yesterday, is an Indian illegal immigrant who was caught and released at the California border by Biden administration in March of 2022. DHS photo of him attached via federal sources. I'm told that ICE is placing a detainer request on Singh in San Bernardino County Sheriff Department, where he is in custody. So ICE is trying to grab him from the county sheriff on suspicion. He's being held there on suspicion of DUI causing great bodily injury. gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, and hasn't been formally charged yet. Police say Singh was speeding and under the influence, never hitting his brakes, and he crashed into slow-moving traffic, stopped traffic on the freeway, causing a devastating and deadly chain reaction crash that killed 3 people. And the victims have not been identified yet, but this is the guy. There he is. And this is like an aerial shot of the deadly crash. Terrible. So sad. And, you know, I have a question. How in the world has an illegal alien obtained a driver's license, let alone a CDL? Okay, commercial driver's license, you know, which is required in order to operate a semi. And I think I have an answer to that question. 2 words, Gavin Newsom. In September of 2022, Newsom signed into law this California bill. It was a state bill, Assembly Bill 1766, which expanded the existing state law where anybody in California doesn't have to provide proof of legal residency in order to obtain a driver's license. AB 1766 broadened this to include obtaining a state ID card without having a real ID. So they've laxed the laws here as far as getting, they've laxed the laws in California as far as getting a driver's license. Okay, you don't have to prove that you are a citizen of this country and that you live here in order to get a driver's license. I'd imagine that California has something similar to Illinois. In Illinois, I know that illegal aliens can go ahead and get driver's licenses, non-citizens, right? They're here under this work authorization or whatever. Non-citizens can get like work visas, and then they can get the ID. But here's the catch. Under the Biden administration, everybody who hopped the border was a non-citizen here approved. Okay, you guys remember the CPB1 app or whatever. You would come in, border hop, and then you'd click a couple of buttons on an app, and all of a sudden you were legally able to stay here in the United States. And these states like California and Illinois made it possible for those people to get driver's licenses. They didn't need residency in order to obtain a driver's license. And once that happens, I mean, you're on the voter rolls automatically. I'm sure California has similar laws to Illinois, and that, you know, once you get a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote. And then on top of that, CDLs and getting a CDL, you know, you're authorized, and know this is legal in Illinois. If you're authorized to work or here on some sort of visa, and then you can drive a semi truck, which is insanity to me. I think that we shouldn't allow anybody from a different country to be driving semi trucks. I think that it should be American citizens only, because you're risking national security. We shouldn't be opening up this very crucial infrastructure up to people who don't speak English, up to people who potentially have allegiances to other countries, okay, foreign countries, potentially our adversaries. So even legal immigrants, so I'm talking people on H-1Bs. I don't think that we should allow H-1B holders to hold driver's licenses or CDLs. Definitely not CDLs. So this is not hyperbole when I say this. He's got blood on his hands. He's got the blood of 3 innocents on his hands, Gavin Newsom, and he has to answer for that. And there should be a repeal of this law right away, AB 1766, which broadens the ability for people to get driver's license, state IDs, real IDs, without proof of residency, without proof of citizenship. uh, without any kind of proof of who you are. You shouldn't be able to get driver's licenses like that. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, but smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. When we come back, we're going to talk about J.B. Pritzker because he says that he prefers growing the economy over raising taxes. Folks, that's like a fox saying he prefers to protect the hen house. Well, yeah. We're going to be talking about how bureaucrats believe that your wallet belongs to them. And Governor J.B. Pritzker's actions speak louder than his words. He's not growing the economy. He's grazing on it, and he's stealing from you. And you won't want to miss that story. And then a little bit later, we're going to talk about how Illinois erased the term mother and father from our laws next on Conservative Cat. Hey, you're listening to the Conservative Cat Clips. This is the place where we don't call 911 first. Nope, we pray, we prepare, and yes, we pack heat. Every time there's a tragedy, the media and the Democrats, they start crying, do something, and do something. And what they mean is more laws, more bans, and more restrictions, not on criminals, mind you, but on law-abiding citizens. So let me tell you what evil doesn't care about. They don't care about legislation. The man willing to break the sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder, doesn't blink twice at your AR-15 ban. Okay, he doesn't read your gun-free zone signs. He sees those signs and he says, this is an invitation for me. Gun control doesn't stop evil. It disarms good people. The founding fathers didn't give us the Second Amendment so we could go hunting. They gave us the Second Amendment to protect ourselves against tyrants, both foreign and domestic. And newsflash, tyrants don't tend to announce themselves. They come wearing smiles and waving around fancy policies. And I also want to talk about self-defense today. Self-defense. The average police response time in big cities like Chicago could be up to 10 minutes, sometimes even longer. I know the Chicago PD is really struggling with that. Response times in rural areas, it could get up to even 30 minutes response time. So if somebody kicks down your door, are you going to ask them to wait until the government sends backup to protect you, or are you going to protect your family and take matters into your own hands? So grandma, in Peoria, Illinois, she is just trying to defend her property, but yet she's the one treated like a criminal. She has to go through all kinds of crazy background checks, permits, training. And the thug in Chicago, he gets the gun out of his trunk in an alley, and he didn't think twice about our laws, okay? It's about power. It always has been. Every dictatorship in history has disarmed their citizens first. First, that's Stalin, that's Hitler, that's Mao. They didn't want competition. And once the guns were gone, so were the rights, the freedom, and the people. So a disarmed people is a controlled people. But an armed, faithful, and free people, that is a nightmare for tyrants. And really, it's a blessing to your neighbors if you are armed. The Second Amendment isn't outdated. It's eternal. And just like evil, just like our right, just like the evil has the right to do evil things, and that they will, we have the right to resist evil and to arm ourselves. And the Second Amendment is pretty dang clear, shall not be infringed. This has been Conservative Cat Clips. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I so do appreciate you being here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Always support the program by visiting patriotpumpenergy.com. Buying your bottle of premium pre-workout today. Use promo code ConservativeCat at checkout for $10 off. This is our fruit punch flavor. Absolutely delicious. There's 150 milligrams of caffeine. This is a great alternative to your energy drinks on the shelves at the grocery store. Buy it today. Now, let's talk about Jelly Bean Pritzker. Jelly Bean Pritzker. So he is out there, and I don't know if you missed the show yesterday, but he's out there saying that he prefers to grow the economy over raising taxes. He said there's, three ways that you can grow the economy, and one would be, or there's 3 ways to balance a budget. He says number 1 would be to cut expenditures. Notice how he wasn't interested in that. Number 2, you can raise taxes. Number 3, you can grow the economy. And he says that he prefers growing the economy over raising taxes. This is Governor J.B. Pritzker, the billionaire budgeteer. Okay. So I want to take a look at his actions, not his words. Okay. Because that is where you will find the truth. He is not growing the economy. He's grazing on it. So let's unpack what the governor said. He told the Economic Club of Chicago, you've got to balance a budget, and I prefer growing the economy as opposed to the other 2 methods, which would be cutting expenditures and raising taxes. Sounds nice, sounds cute, sounds smooth, right? Sounds like a guy who believes in prosperity. But in the same week, let's take a look at this guy's actions. The Pritzker administration has floated the idea of undoing tax benefits from the federal government. Yes, the much attacked Trump era tax reform, the one big beautiful bill. There was a lot of tax reform in there for manufacturers specifically. So the one big beautiful bill, we know it better as the bill that provides tax cuts. Jobs Act, maybe the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is what I like to call it, the one big beautiful bill. And it's a law that is really attempting to revive the American industries, the economy, and bring jobs back from overseas. And it's a reminder really from Washington that the best stimulus plan, the best thing the government can do is to let people keep their money. Okay, so that is the one big beautiful bill. But what Pritzker wants to do, he wants to sever Illinois from that federal policy, meaning that the rest of the country gets the sick deal in the one big beautiful bill. The manufacturers can immediately start deducting cost of their equipment and machinery, and Illinois wants to take that away from them. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. So Springfield, they want a few $100 million extra dollars to feed the beast that is Springfield, the expenditures that have just run amok. Like I said, the budget has ballooned from $30 billion to $55 billion or something like that under Governor J.B. Pritzker. They're spending like crazy. What the hell are they spending money on? They're spending it on these nonprofit organizations, these do-gooder nonprofits that actually don't do good. They pay themselves, and they're the political allies who help get these politicians elected. Anyway, he says that he's growing the economy. Yeah, he's growing it in the way that a parasite grows from draining its host. Okay, he's growing the public sector, and he's lining the pockets of his wealthy friends in certain sectors, whether that's electric vehicles, quantum computing is one of his favorites. Some of these startups that aren't even really companies quite yet, and he's picking them as winners. Why? Because they're Democrat operatives, and they favorite the Democrat Party. So David Curtin, he's quoted in the Center Square, and he is with the Technology and Manufacturing Association. He said it best. He says Pritzker uses the right words. Curtis says, but if you follow the actions, this action would not follow those words. Yes. So let me decode that for you. It means that he's lying politely. Governor J.B. Pritzker is lying when he says he wants to grow the economy, because his actions say something much different. Okay. Curtin goes on. He's from the Technology and Manufacturing Association. David Curtin, he points out that the federal policy would let manufacturers take 100% bonus depreciation in the first year for new equipment. So that's a huge deal. Okay. So for example, if you buy $1 million machine, you don't have to stretch your tax deduction over the course of 39 years. You can write it off right away. And that actually encourages growth. That encourages hiring. It encourages risk taking, which is good for the economy. Okay. And for manufacturers. And Curtin reminds us that Illinois is automatically tethered to this federal law unless lawmakers take action, Illinois lawmakers, to cut us loose from that federal law, the BBB, and the benefits from the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill. What does the governor want us to do? He wants us to cut loose from that federal bill where these manufacturers would get that deduction right away, as opposed to waiting 39 years and stretching it out over the course of 39 years. Why do they want to do that? Because I guess there's like a $267 million budget gap. And here's the trick, that's not a deficit that's caused by the private sector. That's a deficit in the state budget, and it's caused by overspending. They need to cut their expenditures. Governor J.B. Pritzker, he says, well, I prefer the third one, growing the economy. Okay, why don't we cut the expenditures, my dude? Okay, obviously you're not for that. Illinois doesn't have a revenue problem. They have a discipline problem. And I want to talk about the economic fiscal policy report that came out of the governor's office. They say that the negative impact on business tax collections from the federal law, the BBB, is going to outweigh the gains. Translation, what are they actually saying there? They're saying that we're not making enough money off of your success. We're not taxing you enough. So we're going to penalize you for it. And we're going to not let you take the benefit from the BBB. The general funds revenues, they say, are now projected to be $449 million lower because of an estimated $830 million in a reduction to the state revenue, the state tax revenue. So they're saying that the BBB is going to reduce the state tax revenue, which, yes, of course it's going to be lower. That's the whole damn point. You cut taxes, you stimulate the economy. You see, Pritzker's playbook is, if the government doesn't get a cut, then something's wrong. His idea of economic growth is only in the public sector. Okay, same reason why, you've got Joe Biden out there saying, oh, I brought so many jobs, during my administration, brand new jobs. They were all in the public sector. These aren't real jobs. Okay, it's backwards. They have a backwards, warped, distorted view on what the economy should look like. In a free economy, government revenue is the byproduct of prosperity, not the purpose of it, if that makes sense. You don't build an economy by taxing investment. You build it by freeing the investor. Okay, and that's what the BBB does. Of course, we're going to see lower revenues because of the BBB. The state tax revenue is going to be lower because their tax cuts, they're not going to be generating as much revenue as they were on paper. But what's going to wind up happening is you stimulate the economy because you're putting the money back into people's pockets and keeping it there. And what they're going to do with that money is spend. Sales tax revenue could go up. They're not taking into account the stimulation that the BBB will bring on. And they also have this warped view on the economy where they think that government revenue is not the byproduct, but it is the purpose of the economy. Okay. So William McBride, quoted in the Center Square from the Tax Foundation, weighed in, and folks, he's absolutely right. He said, manufacturing isn't a carve out. It's a correction. Okay, what's going on in the BBB isn't a carve out for manufacturing. It's actually a correction because businesses have had to wait decades in the past to write off their investments. And that's not just bureaucratic red tape. That is a straitjacket. And McBride said it clearly, quote, a manufacturing business has to have a facility or they're not a manufacturing business. Exactly. Imagine that. A radical thought. You can't make products if you don't have a factory. And this provision lets those companies reinvest, expand, and hire faster. This provision in the BBB for the manufacturers, and it cuts out the inflation risk that eats away at the value of those deductions. So it's simple math. It's sound economics. And unfortunately, in Springfield, simple math and sound economics is forbidden. So in Springfield, all of that's forbidden. And I want to look at this from a Christian worldview. Okay, because Colossians 3:23 says this: whatever you do, work heartedly as for the Lord, not for men. Okay, and that's what it talks about in scripture about real productive work, creating a product or service, providing a service that is a God-given calling. Okay. So the Machinist in Decatur, Illinois, honoring God by shaping and sharpening steel. Okay. He is doing God's work, honoring God. The family-run factory in Rockford, Illinois, is part of God's provision for their community. But when government decides to punish success and penalize productivity, it's not just bad economics, it's immoral and it's unbiblical. Okay, so Pritzker doesn't just threaten your paycheck with all of the taxation, he's threatening your very purpose. And I've said it before, the Democrat Party is just anti-Christianity and anti-biblical. So that's why this show exists, because liberty, economic, spiritual, moral, cannot survive. Liberty cannot survive when bureaucrats believe that they are the provider. And government doesn't create jobs, it creates dependence. And his idea of economic growth is just completely warped because he would rather see his friends grow via the tax credits and then suck you dry in order to provide tax credits for his friends. And I want to zoom out for a second because other states like Texas, Tennessee, Indiana, they're not fighting the provision in the federal law that Donald Trump has, the one big beautiful bill. They're not fighting really what I would call a federal bonus to the American people. This is like a stimulus check, but it's just keeping money in your pocket. These other states, Texas, Tennessee, Indiana, they are embracing it. And they're rolling out the red carpet for manufacturers. In Illinois, we're rolling out the red tape. And you wonder why people are moving away from Illinois, why there's a mass exodus. Okay. And here's the thing. Pritzker could grow the economy. The way he would be able to do that would be to cut expenditures. There's no reason why our budget should have ballooned from $30 billion to $55 in the course of his term. Okay, there's no reason why we should be spending that much more. We can cut the expenditures, but we also shouldn't be picking winners and losers for certain people to get tax breaks over others, and picking people he prefers. Okay. We need to stop chasing social experiments. We need to cut the waste, and we have to quit treating business like it's a dirty word. And stop treating the private sector like they're the other people. Okay. And I've always talked about this. It's a fight between public sector versus private sector. There's people in the public sector, your bureaucrats, your Governor J.B. Pritzkers, they hate you. They hate the American work. They hate the hairdresser. They hate the waitress, the blue collar worker, the business owner who owns his own business. Okay. They don't like you. Because they prefer their economy over a real economy that is through the BBB incentivized. Industry is incentivized, creating a product, working. That's all incentivized in the BBB. So instead, we get the same Springfield formula. Step one is to promise prosperity. Step two is to raise taxes. Step three is to blame Republicans. Step four is to fund government jobs and call it growth. Okay, so that is the Springfield formula. And in closing, here's the takeaway here, folks. Don't be fooled by this talk of economic growth. Like I said, Governor J.B. Pritzker is polishing his national profile. He wants to run for president in 2028. Don't be fooled by his talk of economic growth. Don't be fooled by this man whose record shows nothing but economic control. Okay. His action of forcing us out of those benefits from the BBB are disgusting. He says he prefers growing the economy, but every single action says he prefers owning the economy. And the worst part is that he dresses it all up in words like sustainability. For example, he'll give tax credits to Goshen, the CCP-linked company, And he'll say, oh, it's super sustainable. Electric vehicles are super sustainable. He'll give tax credits to companies that go bankrupt within a year because they're not actually real companies. They're, fake. They're gay. He dresses it all up like equity and fairness and sustainability. He uses those buzzwords, but there's nothing fair. But fairness without freedom is just another word for slavery. Okay, and Illinois has been chained long enough. It's time to elect Darren Bailey and unshackle the workers, the dreamers, the tinkerers, the builders, the hairdressers, the waitresses. It's time to unshackle those workers because this state's future won't be written by the bureaucrats. It's going to be built by the hands of people who believe in faith, family, and freedom. And as long as I've got this mic, the claws are going to be coming out. And every time Springfield tries to scratch away your liberty, I'm going to call it out. And I'm going to use this microphone to do it. So smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I do want to talk about one more thing that the Illinois lawmakers have done. They are at it again, and they're modernizing family law, which is really just Democrat speak for they've rewritten what family means. They've redefined what family means, and they've really rewritten what creation itself is through this law. And it's called the Equality for Every Family Act. Okay. Equality sounds noble, right? That word. Every family, equality for every family. But here's the thing. Not every family is created equal. When the government steps in and decides biology, marriage, morality, these are just optional social constructs, and they redefine biology, they redefine marriage, they redefine morality, and there's nothing equal about it when the government steps in and redefines all of these terms. Governor J.B. Pritzker, the same guy who hasn't met a tax that he doesn't love or a moral line he doesn't mind crossing, he issued what was called an amendatory veto. So it was like a technical error. The lawmaker said it was something about a renumbering error, like paperwork error. But behind this bureaucratic shrug, okay, this was a bill that was passed by the House and Senate. Then the governor made some changes, some quirks to it. Behind this bureaucratic shrug, oh, it got passed and it was amended, and now they're going to pass it again. Behind all of that is this total redefinition of motherhood, fatherhood, and divine order itself. Okay, so here's where it is and where it's all started. Okay, so 2568. Let's start with what the bill actually does. It was sponsored by Representative Tracy Katz-Mull. And it was sponsored by Senate President Don Harmon. Okay, and what the bill does, it modernizes Illinois parentage laws and ensures all families are recognized under state law. Okay, so that sounds nice until you read this 86-page monster of a bill, and then you find out that they replace the words mother and father, and those words are being erased. State Senator Andrew Chesney earlier this spring quoted in the Center Square. He was on the Senate floor saying this, quote, "This act replaces father with the term acknowledged parent and refers to mothers as the person who gave birth." Think about that. We've gone from mother and father, the two sacred pillars of human life, to birthing person and acknowledged parent. Wow. That's not modernization, folks. That is what I call moral mutilation. They're not modernizing, they're destroying the very definitions of mother and father, and they're calling it inclusion. What I call it is a cultural lobotomy, an operation that removes God's fingerprints from the family unit. Okay. Now, there were opponents to this bill and the insanity of this bill. There's a guy, David Smith. He's an executive director of Illinois Family Institute, and he said it best. He believes in Genesis 1:27. He doesn't think that it's a typo. He said, Lawmakers have done it again. They chose left-wing ideology over integrity. It redefines what it means to be a mother, a father, and a family. It doesn't promote equality. It erases natural and moral distinctions that God has ordained himself. Smith is right. This bill doesn't celebrate families. It commodifies them. Okay. And what do I mean by that? It reduces the miracle of parenthood, okay, to a contractual checkbox. You want a child here, gender optional. Okay. You don't have to recognize the gender of the child. If you want a child, you check this box, right? And this is what happens when government starts to play God, when politicians believe legislation can rewrite creation, biology, and morality. And I can't help but think of Isaiah 5:20. Here's what Isaiah 5:20 says: "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness." Illinois has officially crossed that line. Supporters like the Chicago Therapy Collective, they are celebrating this as a massive win for LGBTQ families. Their executive director said, "When my child was born, I was told I couldn't be on the birth certificate because I'm non-binary and I'm in a queer relationship." Okay. Well, yeah, I don't think you should be on the birth certificate either because you had no making of this child. Okay. Who are the parents of this child? Okay. The actual parents who created this child. Okay. There's one way to create a baby. Okay. And I'm sorry, but your queer relationship didn't do it. Okay. And I want to pause there because here's what is actually happening in the state of Illinois. They are no longer recognizing natural biological connection between a parent and child as the cornerstone of family law. Now, I understand that there's adoption. I'm not against adoption in any kind of way. Now, do I believe heterosexual couples should be adopting children, or homosexual couples should be adopting children? No. And I will get to the statistics here in just a second to prove why I think that is why they should be outlawed from adopting children, same-sex couples. But I'm not anti-adoption, heterosexual couples, but there is a birth certificate, and that means something. There is a biological connection between parent and child, even if those parents forfeit their parental rights, give the child up to for adoption. There should be documentation that is very clear that, hey, the true biological parents of this child are on this birth certificate, and we're not going to put your queer couples, on the birth certificate. Okay, because guess what? They didn't participate in the birth of that child. There are clear biological parents, obviously, to every child, and those individuals who created the child should be on the birth certificate. Okay, and that should be the cornerstone. Now, there are obviously going to be adoptions. That's different than a birth certificate. There's adoption paperwork and things like that. You can obviously have the adoptive parents on that paperwork. I am of the firm belief that it's probably just for the benefit of everybody. You never know what's going to go down the road, or you got a contact next to kin. You should have paperwork. And that should be the cornerstone of family law, the biological connection between parent and child. Okay. Instead, what we've got going on here is identity politics taking over the place of biology. Gender ideology is now the arbiter of legal parenthood. Okay. And, the word mother, this is a powerful word in the English language, and it's been reduced to a bureaucratic term, person who gave birth. And now you're going to have these same-sex couples on birth certificates. This is what cultural Marxism looks like in real time. They don't just tear down statues, but they rewrite the family tree. Okay. And Don Harmon, the Senate president, says that this bill reflects many ways to make a family. There's only really one way to make a family. It's a man and a woman. Okay. And I don't care what kind of surrogacy crap that homosexuals do. They get a surrogate. There's only one way to really create a child, and that is between a man and a woman. And he says this bill reflects the many ways to make a family, ensures every child feels loved and belong. Yeah, but true love without truth is not love. Okay, if we're lying to children and saying that, yes, your two daddies are your parents, that is just a lie, because two daddies cannot make a child. Okay, and that's not true love, because true love is the truth. So where your mommy, who kept you in her womb, the surrogate mother, your mom is that woman, and that's the truth, and she's your mother, right? That she rented out her womb, whatever, for the gay couple. It doesn't erase who she is. That is your mother. Okay. Now, inclusion without moral foundation isn't progress, it's chaos. Okay. David Smith of the Illinois Family Institute, he's quoted. He says, quote, children have a God-given right to be known, loved, and raised by their biological mother and father whenever possible. This is what Smith said in the Center Square. Look, folks, that's not hate speech. That's the holy truth. They have a right to be known, loved, and raised by biological mother and father. And I understand that that's not always the case, and that adoption is necessary. And I'm not anti-adoption. Now, I am anti-homosexual adoption, couples of the same sex adopting children. Going to get to those stats here in just a second. I am against that because children do better in heterosexual homes. For example, there are plenty of studies that you can go research and find. One study that I will cite, children in same-sex parent households are, quote, at more than twice the risk of emotional problems, including depression, anxiety, compared to opposite sex parents. Okay, more from this study. Children of same-sex parents are twice as likely to be diagnosed with a developmental disability like ADHD than children with opposite sex parents. Okay, so when you strip away biology and faith and morality from family law, you leave these children vulnerable, legally, spiritually, they're abandoned, and the state, they're saying we, not God, we're defining what the family is. Okay, and make no mistake, when the government defines family, it eventually controls the family. And that's the long game here. It's not about love, it's about power. They want to control the family. And there's a deeper agenda afoot here. Every time the left updates moral framework, they chip away at biblical truth. Okay, they update, the moral, the modernize our laws, right? It started with no-fault divorce, okay, weakening the premise of marriages, that you can enter into a divorce without any kind of fault, and it can just be, hey, we're going to get a divorce because we don't really like we just don't want to be in this marriage anymore. There's nobody at fault, okay, in this divorce. And that weakens the permanence, and really it just weakens marriage, and it redefines what marriage is supposed to be. There's reasons, biblical reasons, to get a divorce, okay? But I can tell you right now, nothing in the Bible says, oh, if both of you haven't done anything, you can just exit the marriage. Okay, there's nothing that either of you did wrong. It was that you guys just both came to an agreement that you don't want to be married anymore. Okay, that was the start of the chipping away at biblical truth as it pertains to families. Then you have abortion. Redefining human life. Then you have gender ideology, redefining what a woman and a man is. Now you have parentage law. They're redefining the nature of family itself. Now you're going to be able to have same-sex couples on the birth certificate. Okay. I know of people who have been adopted. I'm all for adoption. Okay. But adoptive parents are not the biological parents. Biological parents should always be on the birth certificate. Why? Because that is a factual documentation surrounding the birth of that child. And you need the biological parents on that birth certificate. Now, if they want to surrender their parental rights and their obligation to care for that child and give them up for adoption, then the adoption process can come in, and then you can have the adoptive parents. And I am of the firm belief that same-sex couples should not be adopting children. And I've cited my statistics. Twice as likely to have depression, kids who are in same-sex households, twice as likely to have things like ADHD. It's not good for kids to be in same-sex households, statistically, and the evidence points to that. So that should be prohibited. If I was running the country, I would say, yeah, same-sex couples shouldn't get to adopt children. Only heterosexual couples, 2-parent households, man and woman. Okay. So, and you're starting to see a pattern here. Okay. So they went after they did the no fault divorce, and they redefined the permanence of marriage by allowing people to enter into no fault divorces and engage in no fault divorce. Then they redefined life, human life, and what it is with abortion. Now they're redefining what woman and man is through gender identity, ideology, transitioning, gender affirming healthcare, right? And now they're redefining mom and dad and what that means. And they're redefining the nature of family itself. And there's a pattern because each step detaches man further from God. And the old serpent's lie from Eden, the Garden of Eden, you will be like God. Okay, and Illinois, once known as the land of Lincoln, has become the land of lost morality. It's an abortion sanctuary. People come here for their gender surgeries on minors. And now parenthood, there is no such thing as parents in parenthood, if that makes sense. And supporters like Mike Ziri from Equality Illinois, this is what he said in his statement, quote, "The Equality for Every Family Act honors our state's values in equality and inclusion and ensures that state law sees and respects every family in Illinois, especially LGBTQ families who are under relentless attack by the federal administration." So he's talking about Donald Trump there, the federal administration. First off, I don't know what attack, because Donald Trump has not talked about, gay couples not being able to adopt children, not using surrogacy. Like there's legal avenues for gay couples to obtain children. Donald Trump, unfortunately, hasn't launched any sort of attacks on that way of life. Okay. Now me, if I was president, I would outlaw it today via executive order. I'm curious. I'd love to know what attacks he's talking about. Donald Trump is one of the most pro-LGBTQ presidents out there. And that quote is so revealing because it tells me that this isn't really about equality. Okay. It's about ideology, and it's about a fundamental difference of the way we view life. Our worldviews are very different. And he doesn't like the worldview that God gets to define it, and it's not able to be changed, what parenthood is. So they're not content with tolerance. They want surrender. They're demanding surrender. They demand that you see their ideology as morally neutral and it's not, because it's not the truth. They don't want to coexist. They want to change language. They want to attack the institution of family and the authority of God himself. In a family, there is one man, there is one woman, and ideally, they raise the children, their biological children, in love and in truth. I know that doesn't happen, and people surrender their parental rights. They should surrender those parental rights to a different heterosexual couple. And this is the final stronghold against total cultural collapse, by the way. If we start having people on birth certificates who didn't actually participate in the making of that child biologically, that is total cultural collapse, and we have reached it. And they want to collapse the family unit because that they're targeting that, because what happens next? If you attack the family unit, you will never be able to go after the government or know what the government's up to, because the family unit is a line of defense against the government. So the governor's amendatory veto, he made some changes to this bill. They approved it. Now it needs Senate approval. Likely that's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to pass because the Illinois legislature has never met a left-wing social experiment. That's what this is. And didn't want to enshrine that into law. But you, the listener, the Christian, the parent, the taxpayer, you need to understand what's really at stake here. It's about the future of civilization. This is not just one bill. Okay, this is the state redefining family. And if you can redefine it, you can redefine anything. Okay, and our mission here at the Conservative Cat Show, this is why it matters. We don't just comment on the news, we discern it, we measure it against scripture, and we call it what it is. It's sin dressed up as progress. And in Illinois, under Governor J.B. Pritzker's leadership, they are sprinting away from God faster than tax dollars leave your paycheck. Okay, so the Apostle Paul warned in Romans 1, verse 25, they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. And that is where we are at today, folks. The state worships identity instead of integrity and truth. It serves ego instead of eternity. We as Christians, as conservatives, truth tellers, we have to draw a line. We don't hate families who live differently. Okay. I don't hate adoptive families. I don't hate homosexuals. Okay. They're just like everybody else, sinners in need of a savior. Okay. They're like everybody else, but there is a truth here. Okay. And I love you enough to tell you the truth, my friend. You and your homosexual partner will never be parents. Okay. That's the bottom line. God designed family with a purpose. He gave us man, woman, and there are just truths. You, as a homosexual, will never be a parent by its very definition. Parenthood is between a man and a woman and creating a child biologically. Okay. And we honor that design. Society will flourish if we honor that design and understand it. But if we reject it, chaos will reign. And that's not to say, adoptive parents, that's what they are. They're adoptive parents. There's a modifier to the word parent. You're an adoptive parent. And that doesn't mean that you aren't important in that child's life. It doesn't mean that you don't love the child. But there is just an undeniable truth that that parents are man and woman who creates child. That's what's defined. And when Illinois rewrites its laws We have to make sure that they don't rewrite our faith. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to visit patriotpumpenergy.com, patriotpumpenergy.com. Grab your bottle of premium pre-workout today using promo code conservativecat. That's what keeps the lights on here, these studio lights. Be sure to go get it today, and we'll do super chats on Saturday. I am going to be doing a special show on Saturday morning where we go into, I visited Texas, the Texas capital, over the weekend on Saturday, this last Saturday, and it was so much fun. I learned so much about the history there with the Tejanos and the Mexican War and Texans gaining their independence. I learned so much, and there's so much indoctrination out there. One thing that I noticed in Texas was that there's this Mexican-American battle. So there's people of the firm belief that they are Mexicans and Texas should be a part of Mexico. There really is that culture, that vibe there. Tex-Mex, if you've ever heard of that. And it stems from, and it comes from this point in history that we are going to be going over at length on Saturday. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Smash that like button, subscribe. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Conservative Cat Clips, where we don't tiptoe. No. We stomp with the facts. I'm your host, Kat, and today we're talking about immigration, not the fairy tale version, but the real story. So buckle up. Let's rewind. Yes, America is a nation of immigrants, sure. But guess what else? We're a nation of laws. Okay, so from the get-go, we welcomed immigrants, folks who played by the rules, brought their skills, worked hard, and wanted to become an American and participate in our culture here, not just use America. So for over 200 years, we had rules, a process. You applied, you waited, and you earned your place. That's not xenophobia, that's order, by the way. And then enter in the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act. That was a big turning point. It ditched the merit-based entry and it opened the floodgates for chain migration. This is where you, your grandkids, and your grandkids' dog and cousin can come over just because you're here. Okay, from there, it was a race to be the most compassionate. Okay, who could be the most compassionate? And the Democrats raced to create legislation and tried to virtue signal that they were the most compassionate, aka compassionate means reckless. Okay, so fast forward to 2021, under the Biden administration, it was a full-on border circus, over 8 million illegal border crossings, 2.4 million in just 2023 alone under Joe Biden's watch. Entire cities were being overwhelmed. Remember Springfield, Ohio. And instead of fixing it, the left is just handing out hotel rooms, driver's licenses here in the state of Illinois, health insurance coverage, and voting rights. There was an actual immigrant. I forget where he was from. I think he was a Venezuelan immigrant or something. He got to vote in the Chinese. He was a Chinese national and he got to vote in our elections. And it's just like we're throwing this out like candy at a parade for all of these illegal immigrants. And you know, who's paying for all of this? You are. Taxpayers are footing the bill. The housing, the healthcare costs, and American vets, meanwhile, are sleeping under bridges, and middle-class families can't afford eggs. Okay, so let's not forget about the security crisis either, okay, because that's a big part of this as well. Terror watch lists, encounters were at record highs. Fentanyl was pouring over the border, flooding the border. And the cartels were alive and well under the Biden administration. They were thriving under Joe Biden's open door policy. But sure, let's talk about humanitarian values. Kids are being trafficked over the border by smugglers. And, oh, yeah, this is the most humanitarian thing to do. Give me a break. The future, it's on the line. Because either we enforce our laws or we lose the meaning of citizenship altogether. And that's what the left's ultimate goal is to hell with sovereignty, to hell with citizenship, immigration can be good if it's legal and it's controlled and it's fair immigration. But here comes the other turning point. So in 1965, we had a turning point, and that's where everybody was just starting to race to be the most compassionate, aka everybody was just being reckless. But Trump 2025, this is another turning point. So he is, not just talking about a wall, but he is talking about a hammer. He's come down with his border czar, Tom Homan. Under the Trump administration's new immigration plan, he promised to deliver the largest, and he has, deportation operation in U.S. history. And we're talking about detention centers, fast track removals. That guy who threatened Donald Trump to assassinate him, he was an illegal immigrant, came into the country 9 times illegally, broke into the country 9 times between 1998 and I think it was 2005. Boy. So the left is going to cry racism. We know this, but Trump's plan is really what about this? Sovereignty. Okay, not skin color. It's about sovereignty and having a nation with borders. Really what the left wants is to do away with sovereignty. Donald Trump reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy. He ended Biden's abuse of asylum loopholes. And you want to come here? Great, do it legally. And you got to be, even legal immigrants have got to want to be American. Okay, they've got to want to conform to the culture. And we can't take anymore, okay? We just can't. The blue state mayors are even screaming, we can't take anymore because it's a strain on our resources, and we really have to be selective now with our immigration. This has been Conservative Cat Clips, reminding you that borders are not racist. They're responsible. Laws don't make you cruel. They make you civilized. Let's fix immigration. Let's do it the American way, the legal way, orderly and fair. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. I've got another good story for you this morning. And it has to deal with Jay Jones and Jason Mraz. Jason Mraz is a singer. Jason Meyerez. They're both going for the attorney general spot. Okay, they're running against each other. Jason is the incumbent. Jay Jones, he's the Democrat. And there is an important question we've got to talk about. And what is Jay Jones hiding? Okay, now this question has to do with his 1,000 hours of community service for his 2022 reckless driving conviction. Okay, now this hasn't been in the news as much as the texting scandal that has blown up in recent weeks. As you recall, he wished death upon his Republican rival. He dreamed of seeing the wife of his Republican rival cradling the dead children, their dead children. And we've talked a lot about that in the news, the texting scandal. But today we're talking about Jones and his reckless driving conviction, which you might not know about from 2022. So he was actually clocked going 116 miles per hour in a 70 mile per hour zone. He pleaded guilty and avoided serving time in jail by paying a fine of $1,500 and doing 1,000 hours of community service. But the question still remains, what is Jay Jones hiding? So his community service has certainly raised a lot of eyebrows, certainly mine. He is an attorney general wannabe, and he has spent, it looks like the wannabe attorney general has spent a significant amount of time volunteering for his own PAC. It's called Meet Our Moment, MOM, M-O-M. That's his own PAC, and he volunteered a lot for that PAC. And then he also reportedly worked at the Virginia chapter of the NAACP. Okay, so I'm going to play this video that Jason put up on X. Take a look. Here we go.
What exactly did Jay Jones do for 500 hours of community service to avoid going to jail for driving 116 miles per hour on one of Virginia's most dangerous highways? That is 10 hours a week, every week, for an entire year. 600 minutes a week, every week for an entire year. So why won't Jay Jones, or the executive director of his political action committee, say what he did for community service? What are they hiding?
What are
What exactly did
Okay. So, what is he hiding? This is, as the video points out, Jason had published this video. The math ain't mathin'. Okay, and I'm gonna break this down for you because he got signed certificates from the NAACP and the Mom PAC. Okay. And he completed more than 500 hours of community service for each organization, totaling up to that 1,000 he needed during the 2023 calendar year. Okay. So the reckless driving happened in 2022. In 2023, this whole entire year, he was supposed to do 1,000 hours of community service, which he allegedly did, $500 each organization. Shocking that you can do it like for your own PAC. That in and of itself raises my eyebrows. The Meet Our Moment PAC. Okay, that's his own PAC. He's volunteering for his own PAC. I don't understand how that was like met the qualifications or met the requirement, but whatever. Okay, so that means he had to have been working 20 hours a week. If we do the math over the course of a year, he had to have been working 20 hours a week on his community service while also handling his full-time work at Washington, D.C. At this law firm in Washington, D.C. It's called Hogan Level is where he works full-time. So he was also campaigning for his fellow Democrats during that time in the year of 2023. So the math ain't mathin', right? I mean, 20 hours a week, you have a full-time job, you're also campaigning for your fellow Democrats, and all Jason is asking, and we're asking, is what did he do during that time? Mom PAC, NAACP, what projects did you give him? So either Jay Jones is a superhuman or there's something not quite right about the various players who have accounted and vouched for his community service hours. So as it turns out, Jason isn't the only one asking questions. Jay Jones, he is being looked at for his fishy community service by a special prosecutor who is actively looking into this matter, which had seemed to have been resolved years ago. Like back in 2023, he completed it and it's whatever. But it looks like this special prosecutor has been appointed in a matter currently pending in the New Kent County GD Court. And it names Jones and cites his reckless driving. This is a court order that was obtained by the National Review Organization. And New Kent County CA requested recusal citing unspecified potential conflict. Okay, so let's break this down. This is not a case closed, situation, which we all thought it was. Here's the court document. Sorry about that. I wanted to show that up. This was obtained by the National Review. This court document that appoints a special prosecutor. So according to the National Review, who obtained this copy of this legal ruling dated October 21st, 2025, Judge Elliot Bondurant has appointed Nathan Green, Commonwealth attorney for James City County, as a special prosecutor. Okay, now this comes after the New Kent County Commonwealth attorney Scott Rennick recused himself. Okay, so the New County CA requested a recusal. So there is a special prosecutor appointed, and his name is Nathan Green. Scott recused himself. Now, recusals aren't uncommon. I want to be clear about that, but this is just such a fishy case. And it just keeps getting curiouser and curiouser. You know what I mean? So this is an active investigation, my friends, and we've only got a couple of weeks until Election Day. So what do we call this? The October surprise, right? Now, it was reported early in October that Scott, the guy who recused himself from the case, was looking into how Jones got a slap on the wrist, and then ultimately he recused himself. But he was looking into how you got off with the slap on the wrist, which was the $1,500 fine and 1,000 hours of community service to begin with, because people caught driving slower than Jones. He was going 116 miles per hour. People caught going slower in 70-mile-per-hour zones. They have received jail time and even, sentences. Jail time. Fines, higher fines. But good old Jay Jones, he winds up free as a bird, volunteering for his own PAC. A PAC, what was it? MOM is the acronym, movement, our movement forward, or something like that, something gay. Meet our moment. Okay, I hate those. I hate the names of PACs. Meet our moment. And that was his own PAC that he was volunteering. So how does he do that? So recent polling suggests that our boy Jason is going to win, which is pretty exciting stuff. In the final weeks of the campaign, he's ahead. The polls have him at 45%, whereas Jay Jones is at 42%. So it's a small lead, but he's ahead. And Jason has clearly got the momentum here, especially with this October surprise. And, with this renewed legal interest into Jay Jones' sweetheart deal here, this deal might just sink his candidacy once and for all. So early voting ends in Virginia November 1st. Election day is November 4th. We'll have to see what goes on. I think that this is this new legal interest into the 116 miles per hour community service deal. I think that might just send Jason over the finish line. What do you think? Throw it in the comments section. Appreciate you being here this morning. Fat boy. The only thing he grows is his waistline. I'm sure you're talking about Governor J.B. Pritzker. And that's the thing is, like, there has been talk about, and I'm sure you've seen it in the news, about SNAP with the government shutdown, potentially SNAP benefits not going out in November because of the government shutdown. The biggest advocates of SNAP are always gigantic. I don't know why the hell that is, but we don't have agreement with the other side when we can't, we'll never agree with the other side if the other side says things like, oh, SNAP should include, like, the number one thing bought on SNAP cards, soda, flavored drinks. Okay. Like, if we can't, agree that, hey, soda should be off SNAP, and, the very word SNAP, it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So it shouldn't be designed to be your entire grocery bill. Okay. It started, I think, in the 60s, SNAP. And really what it was supposed to do was supplement your groceries. So this was supposed to be not your entire grocery bill. And these cards, I mean, they're getting their entire grocery budget on these cards. And then they're going out and buying soda with it. I brought that up because you just said JB was fat, and, he's of course, sounding the alarm. SNAP, the government shutdown. How could they? They're suspending SNAP benefits right before Thanksgiving. And it's folks, SNAP has gotten so far off from its intended goal. It should be a nutrition program. It supplements your grocery bill, grocery budget. It shouldn't be your entire grocery budget that we give you, the taxpayer, gives you. This should be supplemental. And we definitely, these people are all up in arms about talk of making it to where soda is ineligible on the SNAP card. And when you have people like that, we don't have agreement on anything. People who created the program back in the 60s, they'd be rolling around in their graves right now thinking, rolling around. They're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that SNAP has become, $1,500 a month, which is your entire grocery bill, grocery budget. and you get to buy soda and candy on it. Like, all right. Well, we'll probably talk a little bit about that tomorrow. I'll give you an update on Snap, but smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. That's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back bright and early tomorrow. I can't believe it. It's already Friday. Tomorrow. Is it Friday tomorrow? Yes, it is. Yeah, Friday tomorrow. And then I will be doing a Saturday show. So mark your calendars on October 25th. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to go over the Texas independence, the history there. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.